over 3 months, I've been doing a series of conversations on my Twitter profile and on Jan Ki Baat, which have got serious amount of traction. And these are conversations with intellectuals and newsmakers and right-minded individuals who believe in the interest of the country. And this is on issues of national interest and on public issues which people want to hear on. And today I have with me a very fantastic individual who's also a very good friend. Along with this, he's also known for his straightforward, pointed views on television. My very dear friend and extremely articulate speaker, Anand Ranganathan. Mr. Ranganathan, it's a pleasure to have you here. One thing which is common with Mr. Ranganathan is whether it's a YouTube live, a Twitter live, or TV, he always has his coat and a tie, which is there, which I've not seen anybody have. So, Mr. Ranganathan, thank you so much, and hope you are safe.
Good evening, Pradeep.
My first question to you, Anand, is on your favorite subject. And the interview title is Controversial Questions with Anand Ranganathan. So let me ask you a very easy question to begin with. Anand, there is a survey of ICMR which released, and I think you're aware of it, which says that, and I think you also tweeted, that the spread of COVID might be 200 times more than what is expected. And the ICMR did a survey where it did some amount of antibody testing, and it says that 33% of the population in the COVID hotspot might have been infected by COVID and also recovered. Now, you have been an advocate of looking at death rates to anticipate the COVID response. And in fact, in my article, I've also argued the same. Now, I want to ask you, how do you look at the COVID condition in Delhi and the response of the Delhi government? And what is your response on the way India has handled COVID till now?
Yeah, Pradeep, first of all, thanks very much for having me on your show. You've handling things wonderfully, much better than many governments, if I may say so. Coming to the question that you asked, I think if we can split this question in three parts, I think that would be very helpful for the audience. One is, how do you monitor the progression of a disease, of any disease? And how do you estimate the, if I can use the word, scariness of a disease? I think the monitoring has to be done by, not the kind of parameters that Indians and a lot of other people have been using for the last 2-3 months. I've been calling this flattening the curve as meaningless. It's not worth the chart it is drawn on. And the reason for that is that unless you know how many true cases there are, how can you flatten the curve? Because you don't know the shape of the curve. As I say, it is like, saying that you have lost weight or I have lost weight without getting onto the weighing machine. You simply do not know. And the second part is the panic that is induced by any epidemic, raging epidemic, or, it may not be raging as well. Now, how do we do that? So this is defined by the death rate or case fatality rate, CFR, which is you divide the number of deaths by the number of cases. Now, in the case of COVID, the CFR or the death rate in India is approximately 2.6 to 3%. It was 3%. It came down to 2.8, 2.9, whatever. It is a function of the denominator. So the larger the denominator, the lower the death rate. To give you one example, about 400,000 people die all around the world every year. 4 lakh people die every year because of seasonal flu. 4 months of seasonal flu. 400,000 people, which is approximately the same number of people as who have died through COVID right now, if I'm not mistaken. But nobody cares. Nobody talks about the personal stories or human angle to it of all those 400,000 people, even though they've died. So obviously, in their last moments, they must have had a very horrible experience. Why is that? The reason for that is that the CFR or the death rate is 0.1%. And why? Because even though 400,000 people die, 400 million people get the seasonal flu. Now, how do you know that they've gotten seasonal flu? Why is that denominator so high, 400 million? It is because nobody tests. When you say you have flu or common cold, you're sneezing, you have a runny nose, you have a headache, you have a fever, it's like viral. So you take it for granted that you are a patient of common cold, and that gets added on. In this case, you can't do that because you have to test people in order to find out the true number of COVID patients. Now, the only way that India has been testing till now, at least, is through RT-PCR, which is it detects the RNA genome of the virus. So people who are active patients are the ones who are going to come into this denominator. And they are 200,000. I don't know the exact number of India. I've stopped following that. Now, every flattening the chart is every day some people get together and say, like, how many patients there are right now today? How many new cases? Are the cases decreasing? Are the cases increasing? Rolling average, all that stuff. But all that is a function of tests. So the more tests you do, that denominator is going to increase. Now, secondly, you will miss out when you do RT-PCR testing, all those millions who might have had COVID without realizing they had COVID. They had very few symptoms, so they were asymptomatic and they got cured. So all those millions of people are not going to fill into your denominator, i.e. your CFR is going to have a small denominator. So your death rate is going to be very high. In the case of New York, Italy, and all that, remember, death rate was 10%, 11%. It is still the case in many cities, like in Gujarat, the state as well. So it induces panic when people think that, my God, the mortality rate of this disease is 10%, 12%. I'm gone, I'm goner. But the same case in flu, where more people have died, the mortality rate is 0.1%. Nobody bats an eyelid. Now, what the reports of yesterday, incidentally, I think the ICMR has tweeted a clarification saying that they are preliminary reports. Please wait for sure, let's wait for whatever. The final report, final finding. But in this finding, it says, at least through the newspaper report, I think it was New Indian Express, that said that in the hotspot areas of 8 districts plus cities like Mumbai, Delhi, and so many other cities, it is up to 100-fold to 200-fold more the number of COVID positives than earlier estimated, which means that all the projections that were based on flattening the curve or the curves are all complete BS. They must be thrown out of the window. For the last 2 months, what people have been projecting, throw it out.
Anand, I think I agree with you. And I had penned an article on April 11th where I had used my electoral model of predicting elections and mapped it to COVID. And we said that India will have less than 2,000 deaths by end of May. And we came out to be correct. But my worry, Anand, is the point which you said, I'll get to the politics of it. I want this topic to be addressed in further detail, is on the panic part of it. Now, Anand, Spain per million, if I'm not wrong, has 575 deaths per million. India has 4. Delhi has 29. Ahmedabad has 120. Now, this is data which is 2 days back. Now, tell me, Anand, if the death rate is this, right, if we do not have a disproportionate level of death rate in this country right now, why is there so much of panic? Because my worry, Anand, is that the larger narrative on COVID still is about panic. If somebody is tested COVID positive, the atmosphere is as if there is some catastrophe which has happened. Now, you've been indicating that the death rate in India is not comparatively high, and it is not practically possible.
The death number, the death number.
The death number, correct. But in a population of 130 crores, it is not possible to test, say, even 50% of the population or 30% of the population. So what are we expecting from this? Because what are we expecting as a country to happen to COVID? Are we expecting the death rates to come down? What are we expecting? How the fear and the panic? Because I can tell you, Anand, I've been traveling from the past 2.5 months in COVID, and in the cities, particularly in the big cities, I have seen enormous panic. I am right now in my office, and it's me only. It's my company which is working in an office which used to host 5 companies. So I'm worried about the panic. I'm worried that people are not interpreting COVID in the right manner like they have to.
Yeah. So there are 3 things here, Pradeep. Number one, you see, we can shout as much as we want that please do not panic, please do not panic. But until a major leader of India, for example, Narendra Modi, sets out scientifically why one shouldn't panic, people are not going to listen. So for the last 2 months, 2.5 months, in fact, I think March 17th or March 20th was when I said that, listen, we need to find out the true number of cases. This RT-PCR testing is not going to tell us the true number of cases. But, India started testing for antibodies only last week, and yesterday was the first result that came out. Other cities have. So now, so many people threw in so many caveats that look, the antibody tests are not sensitive enough, and you can say that about any test. It's like antibody testing is like journalism. There is good journalism and there is bad journalism, right? There is no point saying that. Yeah,
and there is kitty party journalism also. Let me remind you.
Yeah, well, let's not go into that territory right now. But the fact is, you don't stop reading pieces and articles. You don't stop watching news just because there is bad journalism, because there is good journalism as well. Now, there are antibody kits that have been available for the last 1.5 months that have higher sensitivity and specificity than the RT-PCR test that you're conducting. And right now, ELISA tests that have been available for the last 1.5 months, which India is also using ELISA tests, indigenous ELISA tests, almost 100% sensitivity and specificity. So this bogey of, antibody testing is going to give you erroneous results is, again, the point is, everyone is an epidemiologist, everyone is a scientist, everyone is an immunologist. So chalo bhai, sabka chal raha hai. Now, the second point is that why is this panic? Now, this panic is there because people haven't explained the death rate is as simple as that. I'm not kidding. It's as, because if you look at the rate of infectivity, okay, so earlier there was, my God, it is very highly infectious, right? Now, there are diseases that are 10 times, 12 times, 15 times more infectious than COVID itself. The R naught, which identifies the rate of infectivity for COVID, is about 2.2. There are many diseases that are 12, 18, even 18. I think measles is 18. Of course, the difference is that we have a vaccine for measles. Out here, you don't have a vaccine. But on the other hand, actually, the other thing also is this is SARS-2. SARS-1, if you remember, there was no Twitter that came in 2003. So there weren't these individual stories that went viral. I'm telling you, this is nothing like any disease I have seen. So, you have 80,000 retweets, 100,000 retweets, that look at the suffering that I went through. But again, I ask this question. I mean, in medicine, it be maybe anecdotal cure or anecdotal worry. It actually spreads like wildfire because medicine, health affects us all. We want to, if let's say there is no medicine, somebody says, well, you take this, people would take it. Even I would take it. That's a normal human reaction. So people are very perturbed about health issues and health subjects. And in the age of social media, when you have these grisly videos showing how people are about to die of COVID, showing that all the lungs and showing all the, things. Again, the question is, when 400,000 people die every year of common cold, do you show the last moments of those people? If you were to show the last moments of those people every day for the last 3 months of the common cold, quote unquote, epidemic, people would start worrying about that as well.
True.
And the third thing I want to say very quickly is that if you remember, there were these, again, quote unquote, epidemiologists who said that by July, we would have 5 to 15 million people dead because they were taking the case fatality ratio CFR as 3%, which was the same, if you remember, in China, when China was talking about in Wuhan. And they said 500 million would be infected. If you take 3% of that, it comes to 560. What is our number of deaths? Right now, I'm looking at it is 7,466. This is after almost 3 months of circulating virus, in high density population areas, right? In cities that are internationally connected. So obviously we needed the lockdown because we wanted to find out, are we in the same basket as the West? Because the West has had very high number of COVID cases, but it has had very high number of deaths as well. I mean, America has 115,000 deaths, right?
Yes.
And for those who were saying that India is only 2 weeks behind America, right now America is 115,000 deaths. We are 7,500 deaths, not even 7,500. 2 weeks ago we were 6.5. America was 110,000. So
I'm with you on this, Anand, and this is what I've also been advocating. But Anand, let me get to a straight question. I've given you a good room to bat and open the batting. But Anand, what is happening in Delhi? Is the Delhi government understanding the pandemic in a right manner, or are you feeling that the Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, is not taking Delhi in the right direction with respect to the COVID fight. What is your response? Let me give you why I'm asking this question. The Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi says that Delhi would need roughly 40,000 plus beds. And this, he says, based on a report of doctors which the Delhi government had formed a panel. Now, the opposition, which is here, the BJP, is saying that the beds are not available and there is community transmission, is what the health minister of Delhi is also saying. But 3 hours back, the center says that there is no community transmission happening in Delhi. So my essential question to you is, considering all of this which is happening, do you feel that the Delhi government is doing its job effectively on COVID?
Okay, so let me answer this in 2 parts. Number one, yes, it is. I am with Arvind Kejriwal on this. I think the government is handling it as well or as bad as any other state. In fact, better than many states. And I give you a couple of reasons for that. Number one, Delhi, okay, just give me 1 second. State-wise, let me give you the exact figures of Delhi as of today.
Can you, Anand, right? This conversation is going viral right now. So people are saying that they are loving this conversation and they are loving this
because of you.
No, this because of Mr. Ranganathan, known for his one-liners. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so Delhi right now, as of this moment, has 29,943 cases and 874 deaths.
Yes.
Right? So, and this is a city of 30 million population, 30 million, which is more than many countries in Europe. Right? And it has 51% of Delhi is populated in slums, high density slums. So it is not. So, I mean, I don't know what other steps Delhi could have taken that are so, they were so diametrically opposite to what other states have taken. I can say, for example, maybe Delhi could have made standalone COVID hospitals. Right, sure, maybe it could have, like Maharashtra has done. Like, if you remember, I think in London there was one, before that in Wuhan there was one, maybe.
Let me
if you look at the app, just to finish, if you look at the Delhi government app right now, I can't, but if you can,
and that's
there are about 4,000. Yeah, there are 4. So it has an app that tells you how many beds are vacant, how many are filled up. So there are about 4,000. I checked about half an hour, 4,000 beds that are vacant. So what is it that Delhi is doing wrong? I don't understand. This.
Sorry to interject you, but I have been trained to speak a lot. But there is a comment which is coming which says that Delhi is not testing enough. Now, what do you want to say on that? It is not testing enough. This is why you have vacant beds. Because even off the record, what I have spoken to officials in the Delhi government, they said that, boss, we have vacant beds which are available. But it's just that people tend to only go to 4 of these hospitals. And generally what people put out on Twitter are the middle class and the upper middle class, but the poor are getting that facility. But the narrative which is there is that there are not enough beds. But the number 2 narrative is that Delhi is not testing enough. Do you agree that Delhi is not testing enough?
No, I don't agree that Delhi is not. I think Delhi is testing enough because you have to remember that all the testing that India is doing is RT-PCR testing, right? True. And India started with 2 tests per million 2 months ago.
Yes.
Right now, I think Indian average is 3.5. Is actually 4,000 tests per million, and Delhi's has been around the national average. There are so many states that are much below the national average. So it's wrong to say that Delhi is not testing enough. Of course, when you test with RT-PCR, you also have to look at the positive ratio. So, for example, if you do 100 tests, you might find that 15 of them are COVID positive. If you find that if you're doing 100 tests, only about 2 or 3 are coming COVID positive, then it merits that you cannot test all 30 million Delhiites. So this was the reason why you needed antibody tests. And if again, I can say that, of course, India has been wrong in this. Delhi also has been wrong that even Delhi, the antibody tests haven't been done until last week. So antibody test, and let me tell you, of course, this is another thing that people say, you can't test all 30 million or all, 1,300 million no, you don't need to. This is surveillance. So what you do is you then estimate and extrapolate. So you do like in the Indian antibody testing scenario that happened last week. They tested, I think, 25,000 people all around India, various hotspots. Yeah. So you don't have to test everyone. Then you extrapolate.
Anand, I think let me now move ahead and ask you controversial questions. And I am actually very pained, Anand. And I am pained, Anand, because what I hear about things which are happening in the world is extremely shocking. Well, I have individuals, Anand, who show empathy to what is happening in the United States of America in the name of George Floyd and empathy with George Floyd. They arson, they riot, and they say that this is the answer to years of discrimination. But Anand, the same people from the Bollywood and the public intellectual memory are absolutely quiet when you have a lynching on Palghar, when you have a sadhu who's lynched on Palghar. Why is this? What is the reason that you have this selective empathy and this incidental empathy which always evokes, and it looks as if it is all a coordinated empathy which happens? What is your view on this? And Anand, why do I say this? I say this, Anand, because let me give you a statistics. Anand, I was reading and I was researching before speaking to you, because you're a man who's quite solid on your facts, that China Daily has paid Washington Post more than $4.6 million. It has paid the Wall Street Journal around $6 million. And it has also given Twitter advertising.
हिंदू को कितना दिया है?
ये तो आपको एनराम से पूछना पड़ेगा. And it has given Twitter the advertising of 260,000. In fact, I think the media and all these owners of the media channels should, disclose their wealth and funding and everything in public domain, is what I want to tell you. But yeah, so this is the statistics. Now, this is happening, Anand. And what is happening in the United States of America? And you have individuals in India who show their empathy to George Floyd and say that, why don't we do? There is Akar Patel who says, why don't we have a coordinated similar response in India? Where is India? Why are people not on street? How do you look at this, Anand? Does it pain you? Does it anger you? Or are you expecting and anticipating this?
Yes. I'm totally anticipating, we were expecting and anticipating this, because you see, first of all, whatever has happened with the George Floyd thing is terribly unfortunate. America has a lot of racism. But Absolutely. Again, as I think Will Smith said something pretty profound, Will Smith, the actor, he said, this racism is not happening for the first time, but it is being, I think he said, it is being shot or videoed for the first time, something like that. Yes. Videoed for the first, and that's so true. I mean, if you look at, for example, during the Obama presidency years, tremendous number of hate attacks. I mean, I can get the statistics for you. 1.2 million hate crimes in 4 years of Obama presidency. Were there this thing of unfunding police departments and things of that sort? But you see, before, I'm not saying what has happened should not be condemned. Of course, it has. I mean, any logical person would say what happened was actually murder. It was murder of George Floyd, and there are many black activists who said that, look, let's look at the history of George Floyd. I think one of the clips went viral. I think one lady, she narrated how he was a criminal, how he himself, kind of put a gun to the head of a pregnant lady or things of that sort. That is immaterial. We're not looking at the antecedents of George Floyd. We're looking at what happened to it, what happened to him by racists in the police force. But again, I tell you don't even, Pradeep, have to go to the George Floyd incident. We have been suffering this for the last 6 years. India, that famous journalist who also, talked about the famous coup. He coined this word Lynchistan. Without going, to the history of, so these things have been happening all around the world, especially in India as well. It's just that when you only talk about one side, then you become selective, and that is how you're peddling your agenda. So, for example, you will always talk about the Hindu hate crime mob attacks on Muslims, but you will never talk about the Muslim mob hate crime attacks on Hindus, Dalits, and non-Dalits. Never. And there have been more than 150. I mean, for some time I was cataloging it, but then, you can't do it every day. It's not your job. It's just to make a point. Yeah. And that point is that those people who always talk about one side of things, they are the real danger to society, because through their scaremongering, they let out this cry that India is now, going to the pits, emergency is coming. And then you start all those things, come onto the street, Supreme Court ki na suno, as you saw during CAA protest. So yes, one thing leads to another, and it all originates from selectivity. And you have to read Ambedkar to find out that here was this guy against whom so much injustice was done by Hindus, so much.
True.
And yet he said, let's not look at Hinduism in isolation. If you're looking at Hinduism, let us look at the ills of Islam as well.
Absolutely.
This was Ambedkar. Now, these
Absolutely.
people haven't suffered anything, and they are the ones who are being selective, and there's thousands. So, of course, you expect they will pick up any story from the West and all that. But this has been happening in India right from 2014. In fact, about the fake church attacks. That was the
Yes.
first time when it really hit us, and we all were so perturbed. What are perturbed? Why are they doing this? Why don't you look at previous incidents? Why don't you look whether they're actually communal attacks or burglaries? But they never did. So their agenda was absolutely clear. And now once you know their agenda, तो साइड से निकालो ना उनको.
पर आनंद साइड से नहीं निकाला जा रहा है because I am worried and I'll tell you why. And क्योंकि एक चीज तो ये साइड से नहीं निकाला जा रहा है, but there is a trend which is happening. Anand, what I'm seeing in democracies particularly, and this is a recent trend, and I want your comment on this, and I will link Shaheen Bagh and anti-CA protest to this, that individuals and lobbies and people who've been at the forefront of making opinion in this country have somehow understood that their opinion is not as relevant as it was before. That it is difficult for them to again get popular will, because the parameters to get popular will in this country, and this I tell you from my experience, has completely changed. So the individuals who used to sit in the erstwhile National Advisory Council in this country, or used to roam around the 5-kilometer power circles of Delhi, have understood it is very difficult that their opinion will shape the popular will in this country. So how do you ensure that you change the parameters of looking at a democracy? Is you delegitimize the elector, the popular will. And this is where you legitimize anarchy and you legitimize violent protest. And this is where I say the essence of what is happening in Shaheen Bagh and what is happening in anti-CA protest, or what has the protest in US also turned out to be. Do you feel that this is what the real fear is? And this is why I say that इनको साइड से निकाला ही नहीं जा रहा है, और इसको किस तरीके से आप टैकल करोगे? Because let me directly and pointedly say that the extreme fringe Islamists, along with this lobby, has tried to mainstreamize anarchy, and this is what has happened. Look at this, Anand, 6 months, not even one Indian citizen has lost citizenship, and these people had gone on Shaheen Bagh to say that we will lose citizenship. Now look at facts, look at morality, look at any angle. Why have we let them mushroom in this country and mushroom the narrative? Why have we led it to a point that we as individuals have to discuss it on prime time? What is this, Anand? This is what worries me, क्योंकि इसको साइड से नहीं निकाला गया.
Okay, so here I would say I would apply what I call the Anderson razor. And the Anderson razor is that, Warren Anderson, he was the guy who was, the CEO or chairman of Union Carbide. And, when that accident happened, the tragedy happened, he was arrested, but then he was let off. In fact, he was driven to the airfield. He was put inside a helicopter or an airplane, and he was basically flown off and never to be seen in India again. Now, I don't blame Anderson. That is what the Anderson razor is, because it was his job to escape. That is what thieves do. That is what a criminal is supposed to do. अगर criminal भागेगा नहीं तो मतलब उसको आप criminal किस type का criminal है? इज्जत ही नहीं रहेगी उसकी. I blame the people who let him off. So I blame Rajiv Gandhi and I blame Congress. Now in this case, in a democracy, everybody has a right to be stupid and unintelligent, irrational, illogical. I mean, don't communists exist? क्या तुम कहना चाह रहे हो कि communist नहीं है हमारे देश में? अगर आप ये देखो, अब दो चीजें हैं इसमें. Number one, communists. Now, how do you delegitimize? You can't delegitimize somebody's freedom of speech. You shouldn't do it. It happens automatically. During the UPA 1, communists were 85 seats in the Lok Sabha. Right now, there are 4. So the country has seen through them. And slowly, maybe, their influence is now restricted to universities and Twitter and social media. धीरे-धीरे वो भी चला जाएगा. Now, वो तो आपकी वोट वाली डिलेजिटिमेसी की बात हो गई. मैं दूसरा कह रहा हूं, ब्लेम इसमें किसका है? इसमें स्क्वेयरली द गवर्नमेंट हैज टू बी ब्लेम्ड. एंड इफ यू डू नॉट blame the BJP government, you are doing a great disservice to democracy and law and order in this country. And I'll give you an example. Shaheen Bagh आपको करना है, आप जंतर मंतर पे करो, आप legitimate protest site पे करो. Why should I stop you? आपको जो चीखना चिल्लाना करो. Do I stop a communist on the road कि भाई तुमने why are you professing this ideology that has killed 100 million people? Why am I'm done suffering fools. Really. True. पिछले 6 साल का मेरा ये एक्सपीरियंस है कि भैया जो उल्लू, हाँ, जो गधा है उसको चलने दो, उसको you let him graze. But here, BJP, I think, deliberately allowed this illegal protest to not only happen, but to prosper. Maybe they were for electoral gains or political gains or whatever it may be, you know. Now, when you do that, why should I blame the Shaheen Bagh protesters? I am going to blame you because you allowed this. But इसमें बीजेपी की भी इतनी बड़ी गलती नहीं है जितनी सुप्रीम कोर्ट की है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट खुद कह रहा है कि how can you block the roads, i.e. thinking that it is illegal, and again it is saying mediation karo. So I don't know what happens in the name of rule of law in this country. Rule of law in this country, everyone seems to be violating it. I think the bottom line is anarchy cannot happen in a country with the rule of law if the rule of law is implemented. Otherwise, I'm not here to stop anarchists because there are too many. And here, let me not delve into how silly this government has been to not stem this rot which is there in our education system. You see, you can't change people who are already bona fide anarchists and dyed in the wool. But people who are learning, people who are in 7th, 8th, 9th classes in universities, they need to read the objective analysis of all ideologies. I'm not saying just communism, but any ideology. And they're not getting this. उनके heroes और एक बात मैं finally ये भी आपके कह दूं, वहां पे अभी आपने इंग्लैंड में देखा एक स्लेव ट्रेडर का उन्होंने ब्रिस्टल में वो हटा दिया, चर्चिल के ऊपर उन्होंने वैंडलिज्म कर दिया. The left was ecstatic. They were saying brilliant, these are racist. पर वहां पे वो ऐसे क्रिमिनल्स को गिराना चाहते हैं. यहाँ पे उनके हीरोज कौन है? यही क्रिमिनल्स, टीपू, औरंगजेब. इनके बारे में कोई नहीं कहेंगे कुछ. Che Guevara, Mao, Lenin, who have killed millions upon millions of people, on Hindus. If you read what Tipu had done, if you read what Aurangzeb, Khilji, यहाँ पे उनके वो heroes हैं, वहां पे वो गिराना चाहते हैं. तो इनकी पूरी ideology जो है, as I said, let me sum it up by saying I'm done suffering fools.
You are done suffering fools, and I am done encountering fools, Anand. And let me tell you that your Hindi has improved a lot. You should explore going to Hindi TV channels also. But I'll give you an instance, and I agree with you. Most of these protests happened in areas which were Muslim dominated and Muslim majority areas. Now, if these protests were genuine, they could have happened at Jantar Mantar, and that's what I and you have been saying on TV. But Anand, you really hit the bullseye. That was my next question, and that question is on two parts. Anand, I think this government has completely, and I'd say this with all honesty, completely missed reforming the education system, because we've grown by reading things which have been distorted. We've not got an objective, dispassionate, genuine view of history. And I say this after traveling across the country in the past 3.5, 4 years. And I'll give you a recent anecdote. I was in Bengal. Now, I was in this place called as Adina, Anand. Now, Adina hosts the biggest masjid of Bengal called Adina Masjid. Now, when I moved inside the masjid, I could see a broken shivling. I could see, inscriptions of Lord Ganesha. And I could see broken temple inside. So these are things which people do not know. Neither are these things which people want to converse about. If you start conversing about this, you tend to be called as a communal, so-called intolerant individual. But what are we doing to the age group which is, just growing, which is reading, which is in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th? They are still reading those distorted NCERT textbook which just have 3 lines on Maharana Pratap, which will have 1 paragraph on Aurangzeb, or 1 chapter on Aurangzeb, which will not have anything on ancient scientific, assets of our history. History is just not mythology. History is just about narrating instance. I think we've completely failed. And this, in the past years of this government has failed to reform the education system, is my first initial comments. I want to know your viewpoint on this. Second, Anand, you come from a land which I think is a bit weird. It is called as JNU. Now, Anand, I want to know, what is JNU? Why is JNU of today reflecting what Jawaharlal Nehru had thought of it becoming as a institution which would accept all type of ideals? It is the institute which elect communists, as you say, which are completely rejected outside JNU. So I look at India as in 2 parts, inside JNU and outside JNU. What exactly happens inside JNU, Anand? Do you think that it represents the founding pillars on which it was formed? So please answer my 2-part question.
Okay, let me answer the second question first. I think JNU completely encapsulates the founding, the visions of its founding fathers. and the founding father, or in this case founding mother, was Indira Gandhi. So I mean, obviously the university was founded in the early 1970s. It was ratified in the 60s or something, after Jawaharlal Nehru had passed away. But the vision of JNU, as we see it, divisive, anti-democratic, do not want all points of views, blocking people, preventing people, not having a keen ear to listen to the other side. These are all, visions of the founding mother or the founding father, Indira Gandhi and Nehru. Now let me come back to, by the way, I'm not that affected in JNU because I'm on the other side of the Iron Curtain, if you know what I mean. Scientists को सब छोड़ देते हैं, rarely तंग करते हैं because काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनको लैब में घुसे में अपना काम कर रहे हैं.
आपको याद है कि जब ये प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा था और लैब में आप घुस रहे थे तो आपको भी रोकने की कोशिश की गई थी.
Yes. But as I said, you're not going to change it unless you have something which has a much broader vision. How do you get that vision? And here I come to the first question. Answer the first question. Pradeep, of course, I'm even though we look very, probably of the same age, I'm much older than you. So my heroes, my heroes when we were growing up were Jawaharlal Nehru. He was portrayed as son of the soil, which we know he wasn't. He's an elitist snob. He was portrayed as someone totally liberal, someone totally for freedom of speech and expression. I still remember all those books would have, he once told the cartoonist Shankar, don't spare me. I.e. ki mere ko jitni gali dene de do. Nehru turned out to be, now I know, the complete antithesis to how he was projected. Each one of our heroes were like that. Nehru was one of the worst violators of freedom of speech and expression. 50 or 60 incidents where he jailed people, where he imprisoned them, where he banned books, films. मजरू ने उसको हिटलर का चेला कहा, 2 साल के लिए उसको ठोक दिया जेल में. 1952 इलेक्शन से पहले उसको निकाल दिया. So many such instances. This is the truth of Nehru. But when we were kids, did we know? नहीं, Nehru चाचा. Then Tipu Sultan. टीपू की हमारी इमेज थी, वो एक टीवी सीरियल भी आया था, द स्वॉर्ड ऑफ टीपू सुल्तान, रियल वॉरियर, रियल दिस थिंग. अब जाके पता चला कि भैया टीपू जैसा, हिंदी में मुझे पता नहीं, बट अ fiend, रियल विलन शायद ही इस देश में पैदा हुआ हो. दिस गाय गिव सम मनी कि सम मठ को आप ठीक कर दो, तो सब लोग उसी का, जैसे नेहरू का शंकर का कार्टून की तरह टीपू का भी यही था कि अरे भाई देखो इसने पैसे दिए हिंदू की मठ ठीक करने के लिए. ये नहीं देखते कि उसने और क्या किया. Lakhs of Hindus were butchered, converted, hundreds of temples, not even temples, just temples, churches were demolished. And Tipu ka aap padhe, there is something called the Manifesto of Tipu Sultan. That is in his own words, where he says, and I'm quoting him, annihilation of the infidels is the sacred duty of every Muslim. Now, when you read this about your hero, what does logic tell you? कि यार तुम्हारा तो उल्लू बन गया, जब तुम बच्चे थे, है ना, एकदम whatever, you can use a much stronger word as well. I'll accept it कि हाँ मैं वो हूँ, when I accepted all these people were my heroes. But then you try and change because you've seen the truth. Now, what to talk of those people who have seen the truth about all these so-called heroes, Khilji, Aurangzeb, all those people, and yet they say that they are heroes, yet they say that we are not going to change what is in our textbook. So this government is responsible for it. And number 2, the prevailing situation, because as I said, you have to go beyond the government, and as what Rahul Roshan, our good friend, mutual friend says, that beyond the government is also establishment. Now, I'll give you just one example. I don't know how much time we have, Pradeep, but I can
go ahead.
Yes. One example is about the Babri Masjid. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court passed, the Parliament passed what is called the Places of Religious Worship Act, where it said that except Babri Masjid, everything would be as status quo as it was in 1947. Right? Absolutely. So you cannot change the status quo of any demolished temple on which a mosque was built or anything, as it will, everything other than Babri Masjid would stand as it was in 1947. Supreme Court has ratified it even in its Ayodhya judgment. So that means if you want to, democratically, and it is every Indian's democratic right to fight for what they believe is true. And the
True.
left that wants all these fiends and what they did in Australia, from Australia to England to America, Confederacy generals and people who mistreated Aboriginals, their statues, their shrines to be demolished there. But यहाँ पे उनको वो ज्ञानव्यापी मॉस्क बहुत पसंद है. क्यों? यहाँ पे वो ये नहीं कहेंगे कि Hindus should take back and remove that masjid that is sitting on top of one of the most holiest of shrines in Hinduism. यहाँ पे ये नहीं कहेंगे. यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट को छोड़ो, सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी रेटिफाई कर रहा है कि नहीं, आप ज्ञानव्यापी मॉस्क को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, आप काशी में कुछ नहीं कर सकते, आप मथुरा में कुछ नहीं कर सकते. क्यों? ये मेरी डेमोक्रेटिक राइट नहीं है? अगर आप पूरी दुनिया में कह रहे हो कि जो चर्चिल ने किया वो रेसिस्ट था, जो वो स्लेव ट्रेडर था उसको फेंको आप नदी में, जो एबोरिजिनल्स के अगेंस्ट हुआ वो गलत था, तो यहां पे जो हिंदूज के अगेंस्ट हुआ वो सही क्यों कह रहे हो आप? So it is not just the BJP that is stupid in not reforming our education system कि आंखें खुल जाएं.
Why is it not
आंखें
doing
बंद
that?
भी कर रहे हैं लोग.
Anand, I want to understand the political logic. Like, why is it not doing? Like Prakash Javadekar, when he was the HRD minister, he said, "We are proud that not
यार,
even
तुम
one."
गुस्सा क्यों दिला रहे हो मुझे गुस्सा क्यों दिला रहे हो तुम?
Not even one line of the textbook have we changed. तो मुझे बताइए कि हम लोग क्या हमेशा रिएक्टिव रहेंगे? क्या एक फ्री सोसाइटी जो डेमोक्रेटिक सोसाइटी है उसके अंदर अगर कोई चीज सच दिखानी है, फैक्चुअल दिखानी है, तो क्या ये दुनिया या ये देश क्या हमेशा सिर्फ रोमिला थापड़ की हिस्ट्री को ही क्या पढ़ेगा?
हाँ, मुझे लगता है पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आई थिंक द चेंज हैज टू बी ब्रॉट इन. यू सी, लोग कहते हैं ना कि बॉटम अप चेंज लाओगे आप, ये पढ़ो. यार, आदमी कितना पढ़ सकता है? और दूसरी बात ये भी बताऊं कि यू विल रिजेक्ट unless you are forced to write. Supposing a question comes in an exam, tell the truth about Tipu Sultan. Did he demolish them? If you're not writing an exam, let's say communist, he will be forced to tell the truth about Mao. Otherwise, he will get 0 marks. तब वो पढ़ेगा, तब शायद उसके दिमाग में कुछ जाए कि हाँ यार, ये सच बोल रहे हैं.
नहीं आनंद, ये पूरा इकोसिस्टम है. आपके जेएनयू के अंदर नंबर भी तब ज्यादा मिलते हैं कि जब आप इस तरीके की चीजों को लिखोगे, फिर आपको पूरी फेलोशिप मिलेगी, फिर आपका एक एनजीओ आप सेटअप करोगे, इस एनजीओ में कहीं से पैसे आएंगे, फिर
Pradeep, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but the point is that please start including BJP and its politicians in this ecosystem as well.
I agree with you.
They are enjoying swimming in it. अगर आप कह रहे हो ना कि लोगों की नॉलेज ऐसी कम क्यों है, ये है वो है, यू हैव अ मिनिस्टर हु सेज कि मैं सुबह 6:30 बजे उठता हूँ, घंटी बजाता हुआ कहता हूँ ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मोहम्मद रसूल अल्लाह. So how can you say one saying that there is only one God and he is Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, and at the same time say that, look, I believe in Hindu gods as well? You can't do that. But so if you have a minister doing that, if you have a minister saying I'm not going to change one comma, I'm proud of it and all that, for how long will you keep blaming the establishment, Romila Thapars and all these communists? No, you have to stop doing that. The blame lies in this square.
Anand, the critics say that if you go ahead and do it, there is no end to it, and this will lead to a situation where peace and harmony in this country will be destroyed, and there will be enmity between the two communities, because if you open the Pandora's box, there is no limit to it. How do you answer this criticism?
No, that is such a straw man and facetious argument. I mean, if you were to extend that argument, then extend it to America as well. Why are you bringing down all the racist statues of all the racist people? I mean, are they not disturbing the whites there? तब आपके लिए ठीक है. आप डीप डाउन साउथ एलाबामा में जाके आप कन्फेडरेसी जनरल्स के स्टैचूज हटा रहे हैं और ये कह रहे हैं कि नहीं, वी डोंट केयर, व्हाट वाज रॉन्ग. वहां पे तो आप कह रहे हो कि प्लीज राइट ऑल द रॉन्ग्स. यहाँ पे आप कह रहे हो कि नहीं, लेट्स नॉट टच द रॉन्ग्स बिकॉज इट मे डिस्टर्ब द पीस. नहीं, in fact the peace has been disturbed because you haven't rewrited the wrongs. That is the only way you will bring peace, true peace in this country, is when you right all the wrongs, not just some wrongs, all the wrongs across all ideologies, across all religions.
No, I'm with you on this. And but Anand, I think one point is something which is very important. Is I want to draw your attention to a land where I have been, which is Bengal, and I had been in my 20,000 kilometer travel. I had recently gone to Bengal. What pains me, Anand, is that Bengal is something which is missing from the mainstream narrative, and even the BJP is looking at Bengal from winning election in 2021, which is fine. But right now, there are so many ills in Bengal. whether it is to do with what Bengal is doing on COVID. When you go on the ground, you find people do not even know whether there is testing taking place. I have been inside quarantine centers, Anand, and you imagine that you have migrant workers who've come back from other states who've been hoisted in the quarantine centers for 10 days, and they've not got any tests done, and then they've even allowed to go. So there is absolute lack of transparency in Bengal. Then you are aware of the killings which which are taking place in Bengal, and so there are enormous stories. And even when I have to go to Bengal, Anand, I have to be extra careful in order to ensure that my identity is not disclosed in an extremely transparent manner, particularly when I travel near the Bangladesh border. How do you see that? Is this country doing justice to way it discusses Bengal?
No, absolutely not. And Pradeep, as you know, there's this very famous saying, what Bengal does today, India does tomorrow.
Yes.
Very famous. Now people, when somebody says this, they feel that you're threatening. कि अरे आज जो बंगाल में हो रहा है कल इंडिया में भी करोगे तुम? नहीं मत करो. So how things have changed, and it is a real tragedy. I've said this before. I consider myself as half Bengali. I love Bengalis. I love their culture. I love their art. It's just so it is phenomenal. doubly tragic for me to see what has happened, what Bengal has suffered first through communism for the last 30, before Mamata came, 30 years. Everything that was good in Bengal was systematically demolished. No industry was allowed to prop up. Then comes Mamata. And if when you look at what Mamata has done in her regime, specifically if you look at the panchayati elections, I mean, you would start worshipping the communists. कि अरे आपने तो सर कुछ ही नहीं किया था, इन्होंने क्या कर दिया? I think 20,000 panchayati seats went unelected because there was so much violence. People were scared to even come up and put up their candidates against many of the TMC. So I don't know what is happening. I truly don't know the solution, because let me be very honest. I think a lot of it has to do with the demographic change.
Absolutely.
And it is not just Mamata's fault in there. I think Congress is primarily to be blamed for this huge influx of what has happened across Bangladesh. If you look at and the tragedy is when they are in power,
yes,
they were the ones who were really protesting. If you look at the transcripts, I think it was the finance minister and the home minister of UPA one who said that the day is not far when we would have a Bangladeshi chief minister, one of the Bengal or Assam,
who had made that statement.
Right. And it was Shashi Tharoor who equated Bangladeshi migrants to termites. He said they have disappeared. 20 million of them have come and they've disappeared into the woodwork. Now everyone remembers Amit Shah termite statement, and Shashi Tharoor gets a free pass. But the point is, so much of politics is being played, and Bengal is suffering, and which is the tragedy. I don't know what the solution is. I truly don't, because once you go down that road, it will take decades for you to reform. Decades.
No, Anand, I can tell you, and every time I go to Bengal, it pains me. That's such a city with, it's such a beautiful state. Calcutta is such a beautiful city. But even when you go to the interiors of Bengal, there is so much potential. But the people are living in impoverished conditions. People are living in conditions which I cannot even explain. And this is particularly in areas where the demography changes happen. And Anand, let me tell you that it has happened in a systematic manner. And I will give you an instance. I was in Malda. And in Malda, it's a Muslim majority area. Now there in Malda, anecdotes, and when you go on the ground, you will find that any Hindu house which is there in Malda, Anand, is given 10 times the market price to vacate their property. So imagine if the property rate is say 10 lakh, 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs, they'll give you 10 crores to vacate that property. And in this manner, systematically, the entire demography of a lot of places has changed in the past. This requires deep investigation, but this is how it is
again. But let me tell you, you see, now people say, maybe a lot of people are saying when BJP comes, things may change. Well, you have an example right before your eyes. As far as center is concerned, I'll give you one example. And as far as when people talk about Bengal and BJP coming, Assam. Now, Assam, BJP has been in power for what, 6 years now? 5 years? Whatever. 5 years. How has Assam changed? You tell me how Assam has changed. As far as I'm talking about the worries that people had when they voted in BJP. I'm not talking about the overall development and all that. Everyone can cite numbers and give you that Assam has developed and all. I'm talking about the worries that people had based on which they voted BJP in. Have those worries disappeared in Assam? The answer is no, they haven't. They will crop up again big time. Maybe they have been stalled, but they haven't. And the center example is when BJP all the time was saying Hindu temple should be in the control of Hindus.
Anand is there?
Right?
Just give me the
Yeah.
hotspot, maybe.
Yeah,
Anand,
I'm still there.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are there.
Now,
Please
now
go ahead.
what has happened? Has BJP changed it? In fact, more Hindu temples are under the control of the government under the BJP than they were under the Congress. In fact, in Uttarakhand, they passed an ordinance to bring in 50 or 60 temples under government control. तो ये कहते कुछ और हैं, इलेक्ट हो जाते हैं और करते वही है जो कांग्रेस ने किया था. So
you feel, Anand,
do
you feel that India really lacks a big genuine opposition?
No, of course it does, but it lacks a big genuine party in power as well. Let me be very honest about that.
Last question, Anand. After that, I will ask you two lighter questions and we'll end this conversation. My last question to you is, Anand, what is happening on the LAC? And I don't want to go into the specifics of it. India's response to China, the last standoff of Doklam lasted for more than 70 days. Do you feel that right now the standoff which is there between India and China, now intellectually all of us know why China is doing it, there are a lot of assertions to it, but the way India is responding to it, are you satisfied with it? And the communication on this, are you satisfied with it?
I might not be totally satisfied with the communication of it, but I am satisfied how India has handled it. But oh my God, 1 second, sorry. There are about 5,000 Chinese troops who have just come into my house. Oh, I'm sorry, they're 10,000. No, they're 15,000. ये चल रहा है आजकल.
Communication.
किसी को कोई idea, हाँ, नहीं, I'm not saying government communication, but all the ये कांग्रेस के ये सारे all the lackey 5,000 घुस गए. जैसे गौरव वाले ने कहा, I think one of his clip is कि
happy कि कोई Chinese troop घुस गए. अभी the Congress, new Congress, tomorrow's president of Congress party,
Ni hao. I'm just saying hi to the Chinese troops who've entered my house. मतलब ये प्रोपेगेंडा चल रहा है. कोई आइडिया नहीं है क्या हुआ है, लेकिन कह दो यार, लिखने ऑपेड लिख दो 10,000 घुस गए, 15,000 घुस गए. अरे यार सैटेलाइट मैप्स देखो सब वो. बट यही होता है ना कि आप जितना भी प्रूफ लाओगे, it against propaganda, it never works, because when someone like Rahul Gandhi will tweet something, it will 20,000 people, and that will become the object of news for that day. So you can't really.
आनंद, इस देश में जो भी सब गलत है वो, टेल मी आनंद, एक व्यक्ति जो कांग्रेस के भूतपूर्व प्रेसिडेंट रह चुके हैं, एक भी चुनाव अपने बलबूते पे नहीं जिताया है. एक व्यक्ति में आपको एक कोई व्यक्ति जमीन से जब उठता है, कार्यकर्ता बनता है, मेहनत करता है, एमएलए बनता है, फिर ऊपर होता है. आपको क्या लगता है कि सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम जो इस देश के साथ ये है कि व्हेन यू हैव पीपल, इंटेलेक्चुअल पीपल, पढ़े लिखे लोग कहते हैं कि राहुल गांधी इज द न्यू होप ऑफ दिस कंट्री, राहुल गांधी इज दिस न्यू होप ऑफ दिस कंट्री. बॉस, if this country will keep on eulogizing people without any basic merit or without any performance, then where are we heading to? This is my biggest pain, and I think this is the biggest rot with the Congress party right now.
No, you are undoubtedly, you are absolutely true. But again, Pradeep, एक बात आप और भी समझो कि there have been genuinely good people who entered the field of politics, but who were just wiped away by even parties like BJP, by Congress, everyone, because nobody wants them there. I can take the name, Dr. Jayaprakash, JP. He founded, Lok Satta party. I'm not talking about BJP.
I also know.
Now, Lok Satta was disbanded. He was an MP at one point of time, but then he was swept away, probably even lost his deposit. Now, here was a genuine non-left party with economic principles and clarity of thought that this country really needs. India right now, अब हम reforms के उस पे चल पड़े हैं because of COVID, but उससे पहले अगर आप देखें, so there is hardly any difference between the Modi government and the Congress government. Maybe they are a better version of the communist government. There is no difference. So, socialism wins when you want someone who's a genuine reformer like JP. He even loses his deposit. So, अब ये देश है, ये धीरे-धीरे ही चलेगा. It's not going. You're not going to get a drastic change.
बता सकता हूँ कि good economics does not necessarily mean good politics, but at the end of the day, people's perception is more about ki social change kya kiya. And Modi, if you look at Modi, I'll give him 10 on 10 on social empowerment, all of it. Economy, I might disagree, and you also, both of you will also have a disagreeing thought. But still, anyway, it's better. My question to you, Anand, is that you've written something which is very beautiful and which struck me. And let me quote this. This nation hears opinion from barrel of a gun more than the ink of a pen. Now, this is a very, very deep thought. And I think Aarti Tiku had also tweeted after what happened to Ajay Pandita in Anantnag. Yesterday. Now, Anand, if we speak about this, and if we speak about why essentially Ajay Pandita was assassinated, if I can use that word liberally, killed is something which I want people generally use, but assassinated, is a clear attempt by Islamist forces in the valley and particularly by Pakistan that, boss, we've changed the demography of this of Jammu and Kashmir, particularly the valley, and we will not take any attempt to even have Kashmiri Pandits back. And it's been years since Kashmiri Pandits have not been brought back, and I doubt even if you decide to bring them back, whether the atmosphere there will have a situation where they want to come back. But anyway, it's our moral obligation as a country and our duty to get them back. Have we failed the Kashmiri Pandits till now?
Oh, absolutely. And, here I'm going to apply the Anderson razor once again. You see, the Congress obviously failed them. But what was the reason for BJP to fail them? I mean, we had 6 years. I can imagine that they were, I'm actually, my criticism of BJP has been hugely cushioned by what Amit Shah has done in the last year. We never expected that. 370 abrogation, 35A. So they are on the right track. It would be unfair. It would be unfair to heavily criticize BJP. True. But having said that, there are a few non-negotiables. You don't become I'm sorry, I'm so angry. I want to take the F word in, but I'm not going to. You don't become a -- refugee in your own land. That is a non-negotiable for any nation.
Yes.
How can you have 7 lakh refugees, Hindu refugees in your own country?
Yes.
Somebody answer me this. And you talk about Israel. Do you think Israel will allow, whatever their proportion of their population to be refugees in Israel? And when you talk of settlements, why can't you have Israel-like settlements in Kashmir? Why? Especially when you know that all the people who are objecting to such settlements who are heavily secured like Israel-like settlements are these people who instigated the problem in the first place. People like, these politicians, they are the ones who say कि बवाल खड़ा कर देंगे, खून खराबा हो जाएगा अगर सेटलमेंट तुमने सेटल किया, रीसेल किया. क्यों भाई? वहां से जब भगाया तब खून खराबा नहीं हुआ. 7-5 लाख लोगों को जब दौड़ाया वहां से, so many people were murdered, raped, and all sorts of things happened. Then you were absolutely quiet. Now when India legitimately wants to take those people, bring them home, you are creating problems. So, any problem is solvable. We are not talking of theoretical physics or molecular biology. Bhaiya, iske solutions hain. Will chahiye. And as I said, I'm not going to criticize because BJP ने जो will दिखाई है कश्मीर में, वो 70 साल से किसी ने नहीं दिखाई थी. और ये सब लोग जो, or everyone was saying कि we are pro-Dalit, we are fighting against human rights. For 70 years, these dunderheads were quiet when the human rights of Dalits and Valmikis and Gurkhas and all these people were violated in Kashmir. तब चुप थे एकदम.
Or in fact, Anand, I am with you on this, and I think removal of 370 has been a monumental decision in the interest of the country, and I give the government, Narendra Modi government, along with Amit Shah, 10 on 10 on this. And even the travels, you've lost the voice. Have you lost? Are you hearing me?
Yeah. I can hear you now.
Okay. Even I think there is echo, Anand. Yeah. One second.
Yeah, continue.
1 second. Let me just mute you. Yes. What I'm trying to tell you, Anand, is that even in my travels across the country, what I've seen that whether it is Ujjwala, whether it is Awas, all of the benefits have gone largely to the downtrodden and particularly the Dalits. So that is where it has been quite monumental and transformative. My last question to you, Anand.
Yeah.
This is the $1 million. And on this, I would like. Anand, I know that you are an But why is this
Sorry,
so?
I couldn't hear that. You said, I know that you are
an intellect.
You are an intellect.
गाली दे रहे हो, शर्म नहीं आती? 40 मिनट तक सुना है तुम्हारे प्रोग्राम पे, आया फिर गाली दे रहे हो जाते जाते. Shame on you.
You are a public also come on my show. All of that aside, can you hear me?
Yeah. What was the question?
Let me mute you and then can you hear me? If you can give me a thumbs up. Okay. Anand, my question to you is that I know that you are an extremely articulate speaker. I very well know that you are a public intellect. I very well know that you are a very passionate individual and a scientific man and a liberal man. And people really hear your views on, and you are very factual. And you've come on my show. But all of that aside, Anand, I want to ask you, why do you want to explicitly demonstrate that you are a public intellect by having always a background full of books like every other individual who does not know have it? Why do you want to follow the herd? What is this reason of having a coat and a tie and the background in books? If you do not have a background with books, people will still hear your views, will still consider you an intellect, will still consider you an articulate individual. Why, Anand? Why following the herd? What is the message you're trying to give?
To answer your rhetorical question, it's nothing to do with the background. I think this is the only place where you can sufficiently have a decent background. I think on Friday I had a blank wall, and so background has got nothing to do with it. As far as the tie and this is concerned, there are two reasons I can say. One is a kind of a very flippant thing that I have कि उम्र भर लैब में लैब कोट पहना है, फटे पुराने चिथड़े कपड़े पहने, तो यार अब जब मौका मिला तो एक कोट टाई पहन लो, उसमें भी तुम गाली दे रहे हो. So this is unfair on your part, please. And second is, if you look at what I've got, a mop on my head, anything to distract from what has happened out here, because Arvind Kejriwal is not going to listen to me when I demand a haircut. He doesn't listen to people like us. So to distract from there, I am wearing something which can be argued as a decent sartorial sense.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Anand Ranganathan. I think the best thing about Anand is that he's very factual, he's extremely articulate, and he's a very rational man. And this is why his views have, percolated across by people, and he's got his own space, and I wish him all the best. And Anand, thank you so much. I hope this is the first time, not the last time when we are interacting, and hope to see you on TV soon on a panel. But fantastic conversation, Anand. I've also learned in this conversation. The people have learned it. It's gone extremely viral, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Take care. And I know you will be coming on air at night too. Thank you.
Wonderful job that you are doing. Absolutely. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks.